and Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm wrong, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bonds. Here ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know.
Hey, Disaster Podcaster. Welcome, it's Clark here. Wow, we've got a really big show planned today. I think it's going to be a good one. I'm hoping for a lot of callers. I am hoping for some call-ins. I just wanted to talk about that image you just saw. It's not about who you're in charge of, but who is in your charge. Simon Sinek said that. He's like, in leadership, if you own a company or if you manage other people, you have taken a responsibility that you must take serious. If you do not have people who are wanting to be led the right way, then you've got the wrong people. So let that marinate, save that image, rewatch this, share it with your team. But I think it's a very powerful statement. So today, episode 4 of our second season for Disaster Podcaster, we are going to be discussing employee onboarding. It's a micro segment of the entire company culture, but I think it's important that we give some examples and talk about some things and processes we can build around employee onboarding. So get ready for a great show. Get ready to dial those digits, 833-262-2410. A little bit of bumper music, and we'll be right back. Welcome to our 4th episode of our second season. I was asked this week, are you having fun with that? And I tell you what, some days I will say it's a lot of work, but the answer is I am. I'm having some fun with it. So before we get started, a few weeks ago, we had our preseason kickoff with as a episode 0. We were talking about Nick from John Don. We lost Nick. If you didn't see that episode, go back and check it out. And during that conversation, myself and Andy Robinson called in, who's worked at John Don for over 26 years, 27 years. We were talking about some of the great characteristics that he had and core competencies. And I made the comment, I think it was me or Andy said, if everybody would just be like Nick, let's just be like Nick. So I had a few thousand of these made. This is Be Like Nick. If you know Nick, if you like the idea, if you don't know Nick and you like the idea of we should all just try to be better people, have great days, find the positive in everything. Last week was positivity. Thank you to Toby for running last week's podcast for me. And we need more of that. So be like Nick. If you like this, if you want one of these, I'll send it to you. An envelope and a stamp, I can take care of that. Reach out to us through the chats or whatever, and I'll drop you one in the mail. I'll make sure we get your address and all of that. Today we're talking about employee onboarding. We talk a lot in our industry recently about finding good help, finding people who want to work and show up and can be held accountable, and all those same arguments. And those are all big topics, but we're going to talk about a micro segment of that, and that's actually developing a employee onboarding process and system inside of your company. It's so important, and I think a lot of people might think they do it, but once we have some examples today, I have a complete big organizational system that I've built around this. I don't want to scare you off. It's a lot, but it can be done, and I think the results are incredible. So we're going to talk about a little bit of that today. But before we do, I'd like to thank our sponsor for the podcast for most of last season, this season, Kevin Dooley at Kahi. Kahi has a really, really awesome setup, software package, and program for tracking your assets, which are your vehicle, your expensive equipment that makes you money, and as well as some cameras for your vehicle, forward-facing, rear-facing, for accidents. And even there's some facial recognition that goes in there. People can clock in and clock out using the system. It's really, really got a lot of features, a lot more than I could ever share here. They are integrating with a lot of your favorite industry softwares, programs, CRMs, and whatnot. So, but it's really great is if you contact Kahi at Kahi, you can see it on the screen, kahi.io. They'll give you a free demo, and they'll be able to explain it much better than I would. But we appreciate their sponsorship, their ability to let us up the game here with some of the equipment, some of the technology, even if we mess it up when we first get started. So that's not Kahi's fault. That's our fault. Call-in number, 833-262-2410. That is our toll-free number for you to call in. Well, you know what? Why do we say toll-free anymore? It doesn't cost to call long distance anymore. It's so crazy why we're even still using toll-free numbers. But we like interaction. We like people to chime in and to give us a call. This is being recorded and run live. It's being recorded, of course, for the podcast, but it's streaming live across multiple channels on our social media networks, trying to reach a bigger audience, because every week we get more and more feedback that people say, hey, I caught your podcast for the first time, went back and listened to as many as I could. Where can I pick up and subscribe to more of them? It's all there. Go to disasterpodcaster.com. You can subscribe on your Spotify, your Google, your Apple, whatever you do to listen to it. It's always going to be on YouTube and our Disaster Podcaster Facebook page. Enough of all that. So thanks again to Toby for last week. We had a podcast about positivity, and I do think it was great. We had a lot of call-ins, and it was really, really cool. I got a couple of comments here before we get kicking. We got Trey Raines in the house. What's up, buddy? All right, looks like a Trey. Be like Nick. Yep, be like Nick. Employee onboarding. Onboarding in general, I teach on onboarding for a lot of different things, and you should too. You should be onboarding your employees, like we're going to talk about today. You should be onboarding your customer. Onboarding is really just laying the groundwork to set expectations so that both sides get something out of this that they need. You as a business owner, as a manager, as a leader of your company in any capacity, you need a return from people at your company. You need them to do what they need to do that will satisfy the customers, to live up to the mission and vision of the company and meet the goals. You need to onboard a customer so that you and the customer have expectations that will equal a successful outcome for both. So onboarding is important, and I want to talk about that today. And it wasn't until I actually collaborated with someone else. I got some of the bones of this program from somebody else and kind of took it and built it up. The question is always, how do we get consistent training? How do we create consistency in all different ways for our staff to grow the best people? You saw the intro. We're supposed to grow people. A person that comes to work for you, whether it's a short period or a long period, it's an investment of their time. And I want you to look at this as they might not work there forever, but that should never be a predecessor for you not to pour into them to make them a great person. For as long as they're there, they should be receiving something from you as you're asking for them. You're going to teach them things they did not know. You're going to improve skills they didn't have. You're going to give them opportunities and experiences that enrich their lives. And I want you to think about that. That's your job. That's your job. So looks like we got a caller, right? We got a caller here. We have, let's see if I did that right. Looks like we have Trey Raines. Okay, let's see. We can push the button here, bring Trey in. Trey Raines from Maryland.
Hey, Mr. Clark, how you doing, sir?
What is going on? We talked the other night. I'm glad you called in. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Yeah, it was a rainy day. I'm sitting in the office, and I saw you coming across the feed, and I was like, you know what? this is a topic that's pretty near and dear to my heart, although it's, you know, somewhat juvenile for my company. But I think I have some points that I think might be beneficial to some people, and I'd love to have the discussion with you.
I guarantee you have some points because, you know, I think, Trey, I think what's important for anyone listening, regardless of the size of your company, if you now own a company or you manage one, you probably were an employee somewhere before, and you have lots of examples of bad employee onboarding as well as culture of raising people. So you obviously have a lot of talent where you are, a lot of it self-made, but I'm sure you had some mentors as well. So yeah, I would love to hear some of your input on the process around employee onboarding and what that means to you and your team.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd actually like to start with what you were just talking about. I was listening to you while I was on hold. And I honestly feel like we should adopt as business owners an attitude that there is absolutely no greater compliment than bringing an employee in who moves on to something better. Even if that's an ownership in a company that might end up being in your market. I'm okay with that. I think that's a good thing.
Yep.
That means that's validity in the hiring process, in my opinion. And I think that we should lift all ships, rising waters lift all ships. And that's a good thing. So I agree with that sentiment that, you know, employees that come and they go, we can be scorned and you know, a little bit bitter about that. And I understand that because turnover sucks. But I think if we understand the fact that, you know, we've worked for a bunch of people in our lives and there are people that we remember who were great visions for us and they changed the way that we looked at the world, and we should look at our employees the same way and try to be that person for that point in time when we get to be in their lives.
100%. I think that if you set it up right from the beginning and you make mutual agreements that, you know, this person, if you hire a new project manager and he says, listen, you know, hey boss man, I'm going to give you 5 to 7 of my best years. And you'll be like, great, let's make the most of it. And then, you know, you might even say, listen, give me 7 years. I had someone teach me this, give me 7 to 10 years and I will give you the skills to go out and do anything you want to do. And that ended up being true. And there's just nothing stronger than that. And I still think fondly of that person, and that reciprocity goes a long way. So you're 100% right. Who is it, Lencioni, that you read a lot about culture?
It's funny you say that. I jotted down a few notes when I was listening to your intro, and I was getting ready to say, like, you mentioned that culture is kind of or the onboarding process is a micro set of culture, and I would somewhat disagree. I think that's correct, but I would say that it's more of an engagement, like a marriage proposal. Because if you're hiring the right way, if you're a culture hirer, you're asking them to potentially marry you at that point by the time you bring that person on. I try to look at it in that way. That seems a little bit extreme, but, you know, Lencioni is a fantastic author for anybody who's listening. He's never read any of his books. They're on Audible, great reads. But one of his philosophies is hiring for humble, hungry, and smart. Not smart in the brain sense, but smart in the people sense. So if you're a humble person willing to learn, you're hungry and you want to succeed, and you're smart enough to understand people, that's the perfect type of hire. And I tend to subscribe to that. And I think, you know, we share some similar feelings on that.
We do. So Trey, let me bring something in. Do you fall into the category of millennial? Are you in that age bracket where that term fits your genre?
Yeah. I'm born in 1983, so I would be either that little subset category that we tried to make so we didn't become millennials, but, you know, technically, yes, I'm a millennial. So, you know what? I'll own that because I honestly don't have a problem with millennials.
No, I think there's a lot of power in it. And I say that to say this. I think especially older generations, look at, we always beat up, and we talk about things negatively that we don't understand. So we don't understand. I'm not a millennial. I'm probably a Gen Xer. I don't know. I was a Nirvana guy, so you're Guns N' Roses Nirvana guy. But listen,
you're a Gen Xer.
You know, a millennial, from what we all know and what the generation kind of expresses outwardly, is they're looking for a higher cause. They don't want just jobs. They want experience of the experience of doing something. They want something to have a value of what they're doing. They realize their time is limited on this planet. Aren't those the kind of people we really want? And do we need to figure out how to harness that need and see how it fits with our company? I think some people say, I just want you to go out and work and get in the time and get in the crawl space and do the work. That's great. That's going to have to be what we do, but that shouldn't define the job. So I think a lot about people saying, I want to hire millennials. First off, you're not getting a 50-year-old people too often that are ready to go out and do an 80-hour week, hard labor. And I'm not saying they're not out there, but it's fewer and fewer and fewer. But secondly, people say millennials, if you do have someone that values relationships and how they see how you treat people, I talk about it on this podcast, Trey, all the time, is if I hang up the phone if they're arguing, cussing with an adjuster and say ugly things about this person who's just doing their job, it really makes me look pretty bad. And they're probably asking themselves, the right people are asking, well, gosh, what does he say when he hangs up with me and when we have an argument? So I think a millennial is, if you frame it right, they are a good fit for companies. But again, so what do you thought?
I mean, I completely agree with you. And I would venture to say that every generation, the boomers, World War II, World War I, greatest generation ever, we could look at all of those generations and find a demographic of them who were lazy, kind of bad workers, right?
Yeah.
So instead of looking at the wrong in people, let's figure out how to attract the best in people. Because woe is me, I can't hire good people because all I want to do is to say, here's your salary, go in this crawl space, do your thing. It just doesn't work anymore for the modern employee.
No.
You either adapt and reform, or you die on your stump of lack of empathy for our workers.
Yeah.
I think we do have things that we could do that are better. Yeah. And another point that I always make when I'm talking to people is that techs turned owners, people who work their way through the industry, become owners, I think have an advantage over people who bought in or people who never did the work. And I'm not saying that to down anybody who's never done the work, but there is a certain advantage for people who, for example, have worked for TPA heavy companies and they get called out by the time they get out of the shower after working a 12-hour day, and they're right back out there ripping out stuff at 11 o'clock at night just to rinse and repeat the next day. And a lot of companies are adapting, my company being one of those, where, there's only a handful of services that we provide as emergency services, which is extraction and stabilization and control. And then we come back the next day or the day after that, whatever fits the schedule. But we're shifting the paradigm that we are reactionary as a company, or we're reactionary as an industry, and we need to control these situations more because we are the boots on the ground and we are the people with the knowledge. Yeah. So I think, if you get a guy who's coming from, one of those franchises who gets run ragged, and he's got good skills and a good work ethic, but he's just tired of this quality of life, that's a vantage point that you can seek and attract a really good guy if you're going to provide that kind of environment for them. Yeah. And I think that's where the industry is going in general. We need to be less reactionary and more, owning our jobs and owning the knowledge of the job and creating our own narrative.
No, 100%. 100%.
But again, with the millennials,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, what you're saying is, I agree. Like, there's a lot of millennials who want to come in and get paid a lot of money. And I posted a quote online, if you don't mind me. Opportunity comes after struggle, effort, and hard work. It doesn't come before. And if you can start ingraining, if you get a good person who wants to hire on, and you get them through your process of evaluating them before you even want to onboard them, then you start hammering in that idea that, the opportunity is going to be there for you, but there's going to be effort and hard work first. We're looking for something from you first. You're not going to walk in the door and have that.
Yeah. Well, setting expectations, right?
That's easy to convey if you start with it.
Well, it's setting expectations. And I think the better, and this is what I'm talking about today, the better you onboard, the better you set expectations about this is what we're doing, this is what we're not doing, the easier it is to hold someone accountable, and it shows itself up. And sometimes people will actually self-fire themselves. This isn't what I like doing. The reason I'm not doing it well is because I don't want to do this. And this all comes from properly onboarding and setting the culture of this job is great, but it comes with some conditions, and that's going to be we strive, the core values or whatever they are. So, hey, Trey, real quick, you probably have a lot more things to say. Are you in a hurry? Do you have a second to wait? I want to bring on Ryan Strickland. He owns a Restoration 911 down in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Do you want to do a share call and see if you can add anything to what he's saying?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not. If you don't mind me being on, I have nothing but time for you, buddy.
Yep. I'll dump you if I need to. Let's see. I'm bringing him in. Ryan Strickland, we got you?
Hey, Clark. What's happening, man? Good to be on.
What's happening, Ryan? Tell us who you are, where you're from.
Yeah, I'm Ryan Strickland. I'm located in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm a part of the 911 Restoration franchise. We've been a part of the organization for about 6 years. And over the last probably 2 years or so, we've in our office, we've really put focus on developing better systems in the office. A lot just was from realizing that the organization doesn't grow and develop without getting things on paper and sharing that. And if I don't step out of some of these roles and empower more people, it just becomes just sort of a rut. So we focused on that. And one of the things that we made a big focus on was onboarding our new techs or new employees and creating a good environment for them when they come join us.
Mm. Has that been one of the most impactful things you've done? I was going to ask you what of all of, because I know you've put a lot of effort into this overall, but has that been the biggest return on impact?
Yeah, I mean it's made a big impact with it because people are what makes the organization go around. And me personally, I really love seeing people come in and develop and grow and learn, and really in the trades industry that we're in, just create a place where they can find financial stability and a career where they can see their hands go to work and make a big difference in the community. So I guess one of the biggest things that we were noticing is just as we were just randomly hiring, being in, everybody's dealing with the labor struggles, but just hiring so quick and bringing them on. It's not just the new employee that has a hard time adjusting or learning. We all do, because we're all working together. So creating a good system to help with that has been beneficial. We've seen it firsthand. We're kind of fresh into it. We've been through about 2 rounds of our system, but it's showing a huge impact.
One thing that I think that's good about when you start to develop, because it's a work in progress and you probably never stop developing. There's no period on that thing. When you start to really define it and it starts to work itself out, what really is cool is, number one, you start recruiting the right people because you now know what they look like, but your tribe will also not allow the wrong people in, and that allows you to be a little less involved, and your tribe is actually speaking, welcoming the people that they want to work next to. It's almost like the military. The military, a soldier doesn't want to be in the field where his life might be in someone's hands with someone who will not help them if they need it. Same thing happens at a company. Trey, what do you think?
I completely agree with you, and I like his thoughts on this, and I agree with the SOP side of things. Good SOPs make good employees, good SOPs make good companies, and SOPs should be a direct reflection of your culture, right? You build those off of a mentality. But yes, I agree. Your employees, if you have one good hire, he's not going to allow a bad apple because he knows it's going to be more work for him. It's not going to be a good fit, and those good hires don't want good or bad people spoiling the bunch, so to speak. So I agree with that.
You know what I see go wrong, and this is for both of you, is when we make these honeymoon promises. That's what I call them. When someone first comes aboard, everything's great. You don't have disposition. You haven't judged people. You haven't labeled an employee, or they haven't messed up a few times, and you just don't want to admit that they probably messed up because you didn't have a good system. when the honeymoon's over and you made some promises about what you would do for them and what it would look like, and then you let off the gas on your side, and you don't do any of those things, it's no wonder you start to see a lack of performance and engagement and inspiration. And I think that happens a lot. And listen, the nature of our business, we have frustrations, we have cash flow, we have all the business problems that leak over into our interactions with our team, and you have to really be cognizant of those, right? So when you're dealing with everyone, you got to shut off that chapter. I'm walking into a room with my team, I've got a whole different face on and a whole different persona, because I've seen it too often. It's like, everybody sucks because I couldn't get paid by Liberty Mutual today, and that's just not how it works. But hey guys, we're gonna have we're gonna turn the camera on. We have a comment here by Dwayne. Toby, $20 to twerk on camera. Anybody? We're gonna see Toby twerk. We're not really gonna do Toby twerking. Paul,
I will pay $20 to see Toby not twerk.
Twerk. Okay, we're gonna go to the highest bidder here. We got Paul Silman. Paul, train and show growth potential or possibility. Excuse me. Not all millennials are entitled. Most of us want to work. Best restoration owners I worked for showed me how the business works and how to make a living. Love it, Paul. I love showing how the business works. So if someone's just a tech or just an estimator, let them have exposure to the other aspects of the business, the admin, the collections, because it's only going to make them better. So thank you for that, Paul. Hey, Ryan, Trey, any final words? We're going to move on. I'm going to go ahead and drop the calls. We've got some. I've got some really good stuff here. I do want you guys to, if you can't listen to the replay. I've got some components that I think you like. Maybe one or three of them. You might say, I'd like to add that to my system, and you can obviously contact me and ask me for more details. But any parting thoughts?
I mean, I'd say
Ryan?
For us, what helped out was, we don't always have all the answers. I mean, we create a vision, or we try to put a picture together, and then we put it down on paper. And one of the things that benefited us through this process over the last couple of months was we would have meetings with the new hires after their training period. We'd bring them in and we'd ask them, so what did you gain from it? And then are there things that we could have added? And then we follow up again in another 2 weeks and ask them, okay, so after your training and you've been in the field for 2 to 3 weeks, what were you exposed to that could have been beneficial, that we could have gave you those tools or equipped you with the skills prior to you getting in the field? So I think a big takeaway for us in this whole process of not always feeling like you have to have all the great ideas, but engaging in your new hires and ask them what's their feedback, and take notes, write them down, and implement them. So that's been a big takeaway for us. I really appreciate you letting me share in a little bit, Clark. It's been great.
Yeah.
Look forward to hearing the rest of the show.
Cool. Yeah. Jocko Willink says 80% plan from a junior leader is enough. I can coach you through the other 10 or 20%, but if you show up with 80%, we can work with that, right? And that's kind of what you're saying, is I don't have all the answers. Yeah. I don't have a 100% plan, but 80% is a kick-ass start, right? So thank you, Ryan, very much, and good luck down there. Trey, any final thoughts?
Yeah, man, I'll be very brief. Ryan, it was a pleasure to listen to you, man. You got some very good insights, and I love to hear what you're implementing. I wish I had worked for companies like you. Maybe I wouldn't have spent so much money starting my own in the past.
True story.
I will say that, yeah, I agree. No doubt, man. I will say, yeah, along those same lines, the last thing I'll leave you with is my mother is the CEO of a nonprofit, and what they did, because they have a lot of low-wage workers, because they're at the behest of the state, is they created a Pathways to Success program where, and a university for their own people in-house, where they offered them opportunities and real pathways to grow. They showed them charts of, here's where you're at and your wage and what you're doing with this certification and this years of experience, this and this. This is where you can be. Tangibly show these people their pathway to success, and that will self-motivate them. They do want to feel a part of something bigger and better. Definitely, give them a reason why what they do is purposeful, and also show them a pathway where they can be more successful in life. I think that goes a long way, especially with the millennial generation. So I'll leave you guys with that.
Agree.
And Clark, I genuinely appreciate you taking my call.
Yep. Have a good, safe day, and reach out if you need something. Okay.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, Trey Raids, Ryan Strickland, thank you both very much. Good stuff. Good stuff. Some points that we're going to cover today, I probably will breeze much faster through some of those things, but I will dive into them. First off, onboarding, I'm going to give you kind of a 10,600 foot view of a very robust client or employee onboarding program. The first component, it starts with placing the ad. The verbiage you use when you place an ad to hire someone or on your social media or when you're explaining to, because I think one of the best ways to hire people is everyone in your community, everyone in your circle, your church, your community, your business peers should all know you're looking for someone, but also what kind of person and what fits. So how you write an ad means a lot. And why is that part of onboarding? Posting an ad, dropping the entire job description with a word wall, with all these things that you're already slamming down that you expect, is probably going to turn away some potentially good people that just might say, I don't know how to do any of that. I know it says you'll train me, but that looks overwhelming. I don't know what that looks like. We're using verbiage that maybe we only understand. Don't do that. Less is more, simple. You can use questions. I love doing ads with questions. Are you tired of working somewhere where you feel like you're just not getting anywhere? Have you had promises that haven't come true? Are you undervalued? Are you under challenged? Do you want to try something new? Do you like helping people? If any of these are true, if you want to drive a Porsche, I had an ad one time, I placed a photo of a yellow 911 Carrera. Do you want to drive this? Contact me. Of course, you're not getting that as a company car, but I'm going to give you the opportunity where you could own one. It's up to you. It's not unheard of. Everyone here listening knows it's possible. They're not very expensive used on Craigslist or whatever. So I'm just kidding. Placing your ad, making it, it's your marketing. I tell people, I know Toby talks about it, your marketing mindset should go into the very biggest thing you need right now, which are people to do the work you need to. Just think of what would make you respond. How do you get very talented people to come in to want to work for you? Next is just, creative acquisitions, what I wrote down here. I'm looking at notes. That's when you're posting on your website. Again, your language, the imagery, the words, whether you're doing it or someone in your staff is doing it. If you have a big following and a big network of people, it should be yours. It shouldn't be your company page. If you're putting on your company page for Restoration Advisors and you only have 14 followers, it's probably not getting very many eyes. It's probably getting 14 or maybe 3 because not everyone follows your page. Just because they liked it at one point doesn't mean they follow it. Think about in the terms of eyeballs. Put it out there. Your partners, your referral partners should know you're hiring. Your plumbers should know you're hiring. Your real estate friends, your property managers, the B&I group that you're in, your subcontractors should know. I will tell you, if you're looking for someone great, there's no one better than to ask your IEP. Hey, they know who the good people are and who not. They also may hear rumblings of people who aren't happy and aren't satisfied or just not living up to their potential. While they may not want to poach from their customers, they might be able to drop a name. Supply house, you go wherever you buy your supplies, your John Don Ramsco carpet cleaning place, talk to the guy at the front desk that you're friends with. Say, hey, if somebody comes through here and is not real happy, we're looking to change lives. There's a way I don't like going into groups and saying, there's a lot of these Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups of restoration contractors, and people will say, hey, I'm looking to hire someone in Houston. Well, you're basically probably taking those away from other people. I don't know, but you can use keywords on LinkedIn, especially if you're looking for middle management, estimators, project managers, and up. You can look keywords for your area, restoration, estimators, project managers. Look through. If you feel comfortable, connect, reach out, contact, and hey, I saw your profile. I was impressed by your post, your content, your college, or whatever it is. And if you're ever looking to make a move and you want to make a change, I'd be happy to talk to you. Get creative. Look at it like marketing. Next is having a process for your applicants, okay? Do we have any call-ins? No. When people apply, they aren't all going to get through to the gatekeeper, but they are applying, and you want to leave a good taste in their mouth to know that they're just not just another applicant. So have a process. Everyone that applies gets a reply. You can keep a template. You can keep whatever. I've got some letters from pictures of the owner, your picture, the management, the team. Hey, we're glad you showed interest. We're going to review your application. We'll get back to you. If you don't hear from us in a week or two, don't worry. We're going to send you an email or a letter whether you got the job or not. Good stuff, right? Tammy Howell, hello. Tammy works for Warren Restoration in Asheville, North Carolina. Anybody ever wonder how I remember everyone? It's crazy. But Tammy's very memorable. So have a process for people that apply. They come in. Who's that go to? I wouldn't recommend your project manager, your ops manager, be the one to field all those. Delegate, create a process for an admin or an office manager to filter some of that, set up filters. This doesn't meet the criteria. That's junk. The person that's out there making you money in the field doesn't need to spend a lot of time on that. As bad as you might need someone, let it go through a filter before it gets to them. The handful of good ones, have a sit down with the ops manager, the general manager, or the project manager, whoever's hiring the owner. Say this is the good stuff, right? So delegate. I talk about it all the time. Interview setup, okay? They've agreed to that. You've agreed to. I like this person. Or reach back out to them. Want to set up an interview? Listen, everyone has stories right now about setting up interviews and someone doesn't show up. Build some systems around that. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but make them jump through a little bit of a hoop. Make them go to your website and find a nugget of information that you outlined. Set up a Zoom call with them and someone that they're going to be working and reporting directly to in your company. A 5-minute Zoom call. You're identifying, first off, that they follow instructions. Secondly, they can use technology. And third, do they actually care enough to do that? Don't set up interviews. You're sitting there waiting for them. You blocked out that much of your day and you can't do something else. Find the right people. Filter it. It's a funnel. Down, down, down. Hope that makes sense. Any questions? Nope. They come in for an interview. I would challenge a lot of people. A lot of people are listening. Wow. I would challenge a lot of people that I don't know if you have good interview skills. And I think you should probably take some training on interview skills. I'm talking about, just some of the questions is, hey, this is what you're going to do today. You got any problem 2 a.m. getting a call out? You problem with 5 o'clock, you're ready to go home, and you got to, work on your interview skills, ask great questions, but find out what kind of person they are in certain situations. There's a bunch of information that I've got about different ways. Actually, I can classify the interviewers, corporate interviewers, people that are this type. Hey, you've got a dog. I love dogs. And then you end up talking for 18 minutes about dogs. You haven't found out if that's the right person for your company and for your job. All you know is that you have this thing in common, and some people may fall in love with the idea of, well, if he's a dog person, it can't be all bad. So I think people should really work on your or your interviewing skills. Okay, you've interviewed, you've made an offer. I would always recommend that an offer letter be made. I don't care what level of position, if it's hourly, what you're going to offer them from a pay compensation, some benefits, what they're going to get, how long they're going to have to wait for the extra benefits, what they're going to be doing, whatever it is, right? What they're expected of, just in a one-pager. Send that. That's an offer. Someone really can encapsulate what that looks like and agree to that or not agree to that. No, that's not what we talked about. As a matter of fact, that's not what I want. Great. Solved it. Offer letters. Do it. I've got them. Now you get to orientation day. I think in orientation day is, I think there's a lot of stuff that happens before orientation day that I would teach someone as a client. It's too big. Just can't do this call forever. But orientation day is very important. You should make it a big deal when someone starts. Now, if you're hiring for 3 or 4 people and they all show up at the same time, that's even better because you're having an audience in a break room or a conference room if you have one, or maybe even off-site. Make it a big deal. Have a platform, have an interview, a process of what you're going to tell them. All the important things. You're going to go through the manual, the employee manual. You're going to tell them, you're not going to do it all that day, but you're going to say this is some training. All the managers from the other departments at some point throughout the day come through. They talk about what their department does, whether this person may not be working in that department. It might be recon. He might explain why recon is so important. The office manager talks about the holidays, payroll. Everybody gets orientation, and it kind of gets rid of all those questions that are going to trickle the last few weeks. I saw a video the other day from RTI, Restoration Technical Institute, Lisa Lavender and her team. Great people. It was a satire video of a guy's first day. He shows up, and every door he goes to is locked, and he doesn't know where to park, and somebody's yelling at him because he parked in front of a bay door, and he goes in, and no one knows he's showing up. He's looking for the manager, and yeah, he's in the back, and he goes back there. Somebody throws him a sweatshirt and says, put this on. He says, where? He said, I don't know, just find a place. It was satire, but it was probably very, very true. It probably really did something like, came from a true story, who they working with the first day. So their orientation day should be incredible. And part of that orientation day is you're going to introduce them to their mentor. You're going to design, I don't care what size your business is, you need to build a mentor program. Someone inside your company that is not the owner, who has lots and lots of things to do, should be assigning someone else a mentor. A mentor is just someone that puts them under their wing, looks out for them, answers their questions, things like that. And that person should be prepared to be a mentor, possibly compensate them a little bit for that in some way. They meet every other day. Once a morning, they meet and say, hey, what did you work on today? What did you work, blah, blah, blah. Any problems? Whatever, right? And then that filters back up. And then once a week, the owner, the leader, the manager meets with the mentor and says, hey, how's the new hire doing? Great. Not so great. Whatever. Found some weaknesses. Great. Let's work on them. What do you suggest? Include your team. Any questions there? Not to mention the legal implications of what you can and cannot ask. I guess Trey said that. That's going back to the interview. Yes, you got to be careful there. Trey, longer the hiring process, the better the candidate. Take them out to dinner, learn their true personality. Good stuff. And Trey Raines, Ben Sturdy does a great job at new hire presentations. I've seen his stuff. We teach some of that stuff too. But Ben does it well. Have their shirt and their laptop and their phone ready, sitting there for them, like in a package with a koozie and everything they're going to need, a key card, maybe a credit card. Everything's already ready because you thought it out and you were beforehand. How someone's first day goes is going to say a lot about the rest of their days. Next, and during orientation, you will explain this. You're going to have already worked out what week 1, 2, 3, and 4 looks like. At every week's interval at the end, you're going to meet with that new hire and recap. Did we do this week? This is what we were expecting. Now, obviously, workflow, we weren't busy. We were too busy. That's going to adjust that. But you've got a guide. You've got a pathway that you want to follow for that. You're going to figure that out. And again, that's going to be a mentor is going to be involved with that, maybe a department head, possibly the owner. But if you've got a department heads, and if you assign someone a title, let them do that title. Then beyond the weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are really tighter intervals, we kind of loosen it out a little bit. They're getting a little comfortable. You've kind of figured out what their learning capacity is and their pace and their drive. Then you just make them for the month 3, month 6, and then the 1 year. And I'm talking about putting dates on the calendar immediately. The day they're hired, they should show up with, 7 reminders on their calendars for where they're going to meet on Friday morning with their mentor in the break room or at Starbucks or whatever it is. It's on their calendar. They're going to get a reminder. You can set all that up through their email. You're a professional firm at this point. 3 months out, set a reminder. 6 months out, you get alerted a week before to get prepared for that. They're ready, you're ready, etc. Then you can schedule around them to make sure they're not in the field. Does that make sense? Just going through this real random. I hope this is really good. Trey said yes, mentorship is the key. He loves mentorship, and I don't blame him. You need to ask a lot of questions. This kind of goes back to before you hire them. I have a survey that you can send out to people. Learn their trajectory. What's important to them? Don't promote what's important to you to what they're going to be interested in. their path, their niches. There's a book, and I forgot the name of it. I've got it on my bookshelf. Not everyone wants to be a CEO. Not everyone wants to be a manager and a leader. That's a heavy crown. Some people just want to do an honest day's work and get paid well and grow, but be happy and have no drama. Those are great people. Great, great, great people. Learn what their trajectory is and sculpt a plan around that for them. It's not the same for everyone. There's a saying, if you have multiple children, if you treat them all the same, you will be wrong over half the time. Everybody in the house, you may have rules, you may have policies in your business and rules in your house and stuff like that, but everyone's a little different and you need to leave some space in there. Employees are a little different. Some people, I think Trey said it, they learn at a different pace. Some are not good with electronics and your technology, which is becoming a bigger part of our business. Some are great with it. Give them some space, give them some mercy. Right people, right seats, right training. So learn their trajectory and build around that. Now, once you learn that, it doesn't need to be here. You need a process, a system to where that's downloaded into a private file in an HR software. I'm testing one out right now, by the way. Testing out a really cool suite for your whole onboarding process, your documents, everything. So time off request, it's really, really cool for an app, put in your company or whatever. But find out, record that meeting, record the minutes of, I met with JC, and this is what Jesse wants. And immediately, we talked about, what do you think about this? Billy said he wants to be better with money. That has nothing to do with the job, but he's asking you to help him become a better human. Get a Dave Ramsey program for him. Dave Ramsey has a great employee-based money thing. Teach people how to have a better relationship with money. You might solve a whole lot of problems for them. So lean into people beyond just what you need for them. Create that path, and then make sure you're checking in on that. If you promise to create a path to their trajectory, to their pot of gold, make sure you deliver and you do your part. If they're not doing their part, that's a conversation, right? So, Dr. Pepper. And then I'll just, the last thing was just, use technology, use calendars, use emails. Because a lot of times people say, I meant to do that, but I forgot. How many things do we all intend to do? We had a great idea on a Sunday before it's time to go back to work, but we forget. Put it in calendars, put it in reminders, put it in a note system, whatever it is, but take ownership of your responsibility to follow through. Execution is key. Everyone says they can do stuff, but people that actually do stuff freaking make the world go round. So be that. Tie that in. If they don't know how to check a calendar invite and accept it, and you find out that they're not accepting it and they're missing some appointments, that looks like a coaching opportunity, a sit down. Show them how that works. Get their phone set up. If you offer phones, you should. You should provide phones. They should get emails. This is their job. This is a career now. This is not just a show up and work as a temp. You got email, you got responsibilities, and this is part of it. That's kind of my bullet point list there. I will tell you, a lot of employees that I speak to, technicians, staff, project managers, communication is always the worst. They said we don't talk, all we're told is what to do, but we don't find out what we're doing. Let me say that again. We told what to do, but not what we, the company, are doing. I don't know if your company is one, but share your receivables with them. Let them know how much you're owed and why. It's not their fault, but maybe it is. Maybe we're not documenting well. What's our sales goal? What's our profit goal? Tell them where the profit goes. I tell people all the time, tell me, I don't know anything about our company business. I know we're working hard, but I don't have a sense if we're really achieving much or not. We're busier. By the way, guys, busy doesn't mean profitable. Who can give me a comment here if you agree with that? Busy does not mean successful or profitable. Can I get an amen, Toby? And so I just put down here examples of a bad first day for some. Is just, again, just a bad start to the whole day, a bad first month. Then it becomes into a first couple of months. they'll stick around. They don't want to find a new job. They're kind of getting settled. It's a lot of drama to get a new job. But I tell you right now, people that are working for you that aren't happy, they might stay, but they aren't doing you any good. And they're probably not helping your business, and they might actually be hurting your business from their demeanor. And you probably see it a lot. And you probably will say, well, they're not very inspired. They're not inspired because it's not working out for them, and you haven't asked them what it's going to take to do that. So that's where the ownership and leadership comes in. So, you know, I wrote down here, imagine a firefighter. A firefighter has to be onboarded. They actually go to some schooling, right? Our industry doesn't do a good job of having a precursor for employment. You don't go to learn to be a technician before. We learn in the field, right? We learn the fast and furious, drinking from a water hose. No pun intended for the firefighter analogy. But, you know, they're given, in the first month, you're going to learn this, and you're going to go through. And I have a really cool thing. It's called Tech Levels. It's Tech Level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can do the same thing with Office Admin. They progress through their business, their development in your company. They progress through, and they have a list of what's expected for level 1. Once they can approve that they do those things through assessment and evaluation, and someone signs off on it, yes, I witnessed it, I saw it, there's no question. Boom, boom, boom. We now have full of this. You're now a level 2. Guess what I would do? I told Toby I would do this. I walk around with these in my pocket. These are, some of you may recognize these. Let's see how to do this. These are poker chips. Really inexpensive to buy. The more you buy, the better, the less expensive they are. But they're dollars, $4, $5. Depends on what material. These are all from our summits that we do with the Alliance of Independent Restorers. If you attend one of our events, one of them is actually for hurricane season, Hurricane Florence. It says Hurricane Florence, South Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina. Develop these with your company logo. Level 1, level 2, level 3. Year 1, year 2, year 3. I don't want to tie this in with Alcoholics Anonymous, but tokens mean a lot. Something that they have, and if they've had 5 years with you, they're going to have 5 of these. They're all different colors. They go up in value. Maybe there's a silver one or gold one at some point. 10 years might be a platinum. Invest a few $100s into a platinum coin for someone, right? It's an investment that they can have. It's a gift, but it's something they can go home and show their parents, their spouse, their kids, their colleagues. Man, my job's going well. I earned this today. You've got a winner. You've got a winner on your team that's going to be worth a lot to your company, a lot to themselves. Paul Silman. Unhappy employees will run off the new employees or paint a bad picture of the day-to-day. I see it all the time. You think you're pairing them up with a really good person who's, by the way, a good salesperson who's telling you everything's good, he's happy. But man, when you turn your back and they crank up that ProMaster and that Sprinter and get in the truck, it's nothing but complaining and arguing and just bad-mouthing you and every customer and judgmental and probably moonlighting and stealing gas and who knows what, right? We did that. We're responsible. We let that person get to that point. And you're often ignoring the warning signs. And you probably already knew they were not good, and I never would have let a new recruit work with them. So that's pretty much it. The Tech Levels is really a cool thing. It can be customized to your company and the services you do. I have them for water, environmental, which is either mold or environmental trauma, whatever it is you do. Fire, there's different things they have to know how to do. I would create a pathway of when they're going to go get their certs and they're going to get their water damage, AMRT. If you're going to a conference, bring some people along. Bring a lead tech. Bring an estimator with you. And things like that. Sarah, I like the idea of Tech Levels. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Guys, I'm a dreamer, and I'd like to think that most of people, if you've started a business, you probably are. Remember, you run a business. You aren't a restorer. You're a company. You're a living, breathing marketing company that does restoration, and I just think it really, really matters. But giving a new hire an email if they've never had an email with Jackson at abcrestoration.com, that's kind of cool for them. But it comes with, tell them it comes with a lot. You got to answer that email. That's what you're going to respond to customers with, or something like that. Just imagine what that looks like. Onboard, and you cannot overdo this. You can't say, oh, that's just extravagant. We're not going to design this for every employee. But I would say, why not? Why not be the purple cow in this industry and do something completely different? And I want to go ahead and tell you right now, I don't think your employees like walking around in, if you have a uniform, shirts or whole uniforms like Cintas or one of those companies, uniform rental companies. I will visit businesses or stop in when I'm in town and go see some people, and I'll see half of the crew with just dirty clothes, paint, encapsulation sealant, bleach marks from peroxide-based chemicals. I'm convinced that those people, those staff, those leaders, don't want to walk around in ruined clothes. Get some more. Imagine that you've got an inspection from the state attorney general wanting to do a show, or the local news channel is going to come do a story on your company. My wife works for a company. I'm going to get in trouble for telling them about this. My wife works for a really, really large company, retail, and their leadership will reach out and tell the manager that they're coming. I'm talking about the executive leadership coming to do an assessment and inspection of their store. Will tell them a few days in advance, and then they just break themselves. They go crazy cleaning, deep cleaning, arranging, moving stuff around for the leadership. But they don't do that for the customers. That only happens when the big wigs are coming, but the rest of the day it's okay. I don't know. It's just, there's something about that that's like, why don't we always do that? Why don't you have people that say, why don't we always have a clean store, and we don't have to. The term I use is stay started. You don't have to worry about getting started. You don't have all that inertia and energy to start up something. If you stay started, build this. Tell yourself right now, this is the go home homework for anyone listening now or later or watching. 2 things. Sit down and design this from beginning to end on paper. 3 pieces of paper, 5 pieces, I don't care. What would be amazing? And then if you can't do it, figure out how you can. How can we make that happen? What would it cost me? What does it cost you if you don't? Design it. If you don't want to do that and you want restoration advisors to help you do that, reach out to us. I've already got a lot of the work done. Got a lot of the work done already of the framework for this. You just need to specify it, make it specific for your company, and build it. But start, you don't build a house without a good solid foundation. This is a foundation. You get a team full of the right I call this employee onboarding for A players. If you get A players mostly, and you are building a company with that foundation, everything else is going to work. Because you always talk about you don't have time to do everything. You now will have time, because you're going to have people that are going to do their job, and they're going to not need to be watched over every 5 seconds by you. And you're going to do all the other things. You're going to do all the other stuff that you really, really want to do and build out. Start documenting all your SOPs and all of that. And it's all going to come back to not only the onboarding, but the continuous training. So it's really, really good stuff. We do create a path on certification and guide an employee on a path to what they might have a goal, project manager, MIT, sales, etc., whatever their interest and aptitude leans towards. Awesome. I would like to see a comment in wherever you're watching this, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. How many people hire everyone with the DISC assessment? Oh, by the way, that last comment was for Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah is in Chicagoland. DISC assessments, personality profiles, whatever kind you like. Some people are very, very strict on, I only like Culture Index or Briggs-Myers or whatever it is you like, but developing a profile and an avatar of everyone so that everyone else knows who they're working with and what kind of person. You know, some of that you just can't tell from the skin, right? It's not what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside. Sometimes you just have to understand better so that I know how to work with them. I've got a good friend named Clay. It's one of our leaders in AIR. It's in Kansas City, and their company, everybody has a culture index. They take it. They actually take it, you know, every couple of years. But on the outside of their door, they have their profile and what they are. So that the person walking into their office, no matter how well you know them, you're staring at a reminder of this is a C person or a B or however their scale works. This is how they modify. They don't take bad news real easy. So don't hit them upside the head with really bad news. Or they're very short with their stuff and they like to get things done. So don't come in and tell a long story. They don't want to hear about the Packers. They want to get to work. This is not what they do at work. So that stuff's really, really important. Doesn't make them bad people. It's just how they're wired and how they respond to things and succeed. So I hope that helps, and I hope this piece was really good. I think there's a lot of area this could be really expanded upon. I teach on it. I talk about it a lot, but I just can't ramble on this podcast for very long. I'm actually a little over the time that we usually want to, but I want to thank Trey and Ryan, both very good friends of mine. I want to thank everyone that dropped a comment. Sarah, Paul, Tammy Howell is a superstar, and I really have enjoyed watching Tammy grow in this industry. I don't know if she's still listening or watching, but listen, what we don't get is comments. So if you watch this or listen to it or whatever it is, and you have the ability, if it's on YouTube or Facebook, can you leave us a comment? Just say, good show, terrible show, question for follow-up. We'll bring that up in the next podcast. What we don't have is a lot of people that we have a real validation, or just like the post, just like it. That means a lot to the whole algorithms of who gets to listen to this. And you know, we're not trying to be YouTubers for a career, but we definitely want this information to get in the hand of our industry so that we can start to do a whole lot better. So like it. What do they always say? Like, subscribe, hit that bell. All of the things, right? All of the stuff. Just put it on your calendar. Come back here. Give us recommendations for other topics. We're gonna have some guest hosts coming up. I've got some travel in a few weeks. Taking vacation. We're gonna have a stand-in that's gonna be another restore. It's gonna be really fun, and we've got some other surprises coming this year. So we're trying to make this a show, guys. We're trying to really bring something out there once a week. I'd like you to block out this time and catch it. You know, Morris, definitely good information for managers and owners. I agree. I'll eventually make this a course. I'm going to make a very detailed, clean, simple course with some framework and blueprint already built, and I think people can plug that into their company. And I think it works with, we've been talking a lot about techs, but it's also salespeople, sales staff. It's talking about financial CFOs and accounting departments and admins. There's a lot of, we talk about techs a lot, but don't forget there's a lot of other people in the company that are trying to do stuff, and we just don't see them in the same way sometimes. But like, comment, give us a review if you really like it. I don't know that we get many reviews for these, but if you want to leave a review, what you gathered from this, it really helps, and tell other people. We're just trying to grow this. I mean, I don't have a number in mind. I don't look at how many views and listens and downloads and stuff we have, but I know that people still aren't hearing it, and I think that sometimes they should. So with that said, if there's nothing else, we've got one more comment before we sign off. Come on down to Orlando. I can show you the EMSL lab and what we have going on for the restoration space. Paul, check out with, I think you've been talking to Nick Levy, so about our air conference down there and stuff. But if I'm coming to Orlando again, I'll take a look at that up. And listen, guys, if I'm on the road sometime, I might take this thing on the road. I might come to one of your businesses, and we might ask if you want to sit down and have a conversation about something, about a job that you did or a really big, interesting project or something. Doesn't know. Anyway, everyone, appreciate it. Have a great week. That's it for Disaster Podcast for this week. We will catch you next week.